So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I'm Tina Adediro, and today on Business Pulse with Creston Pedabo, I will be your host. And today I'm here with two fantastic people from our tax team. On my left is Itoro James, a senior manager with the firm, and on my right is one of my favorite people, Rosemary Ezekwem, who's a senior associate with the tax team. So today we are going to be talking about the FIRS e-invoicing mandate. What does it mean? How does it affect your business? And what do you need to do to comply? And all the information that's required to get you compliant. So I will start with you, Toro. What is the FIRS e-invoicing?
Okay, thank you, Tina, for having me here. The FRS e-invoicing solution, it's an initiative of the federal government under the FRS digital transformation strategy of 2023-2024, where it mandatorily requires every taxpayer, not just any kind of taxpayer, you must be a registered taxpayer, to use the invoicing platform in issuing your invoices, processing your invoices, and all of these things are usually done in real time. So meaning that the FRS is able to see into every commercial transactions that is being carried out by taxpayers. Thank you.
Okay, Rosemary. I hear you, but when you say every taxpayer, so perhaps we're going to get to a place where it's every taxpayer. But now I know that we have a threshold.
Yeah.
We have a revenue threshold. So talk to us about that threshold.
Okay, so right now, every taxpayer, like you said, is required to have onboarded for the system. But right now, the FIRS requires for large taxpayers. When I say large taxpayers, I mean taxpayers with the revenue of 5 billion naira and above.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I know your timelines are 1st of November.
Yeah.
Okay. So what are
it was initially supposed to commence 1st of August, but because of the fact that taxpayers were not ready, even the tax authority too, in terms of trying to ensure that everything that needs to be in place weren't available at the time. So there was this 3-month extension, and that is why it is now the 1st of November 2025.
Are taxpayers ready?
Well, based on our liaison with clients, we're still trying to assist them. We're still trying to assist them to let them know what it entails, basically just enlighten them more. So it's still a whole...
Okay. So some people may not be ready as at 1st November. That's how it's seeming.
That's how it's seeming.
Yes, because it does take a lot to integrate your ERPs and things. So as regards the technicalities, we know that obviously taxpayers need to onboard one way or another, and I do know that they have the option of system integration, directly integrating their ERPs with the FIRS platform, as well as subscribing to some invoicing platforms that are out there. But let's say all that technicality, all that IT part is dealt with, because obviously taxpayers are going to have to get their technology teams involved. So beyond that, let's say they are onboarded one way or another. How then does the process itself work?
Okay, yes. So thank you for that question. To look at the process itself, there is 3 ways to connecting to the FRS portal. So it could be directly where you integrate your ERP system to the FRS e-invoicing solution. So that is one of the approaches for which taxpayers can use. And then there's also the other one where there is a middleware. So you don't need to directly connect your ERP system to it. You don't need to integrate at the point. So there is a middleware software platform where the taxpayer's ERP is connected to it, and then from the middleware ERP software, it's also being connected to the FRS e-invoicing solution. And then there is this other third one, which has to do with a subscription-based model, where taxpayers need not even have anything to do with the integration with the FRS system. You don't even need to connect it, maybe because of data privacy, even though the FRS have given that assurance that there is the data privacy and security architectures necessary to ensure that everything is fine has been done by the FRS. But again, some taxpayers could elect to subscribe with some outsourcing firms and then get the necessary invoice reference number, the QR code, and then the digital signature to your e-invoice. Thank you.
Fantastic. Rosemary, anything to add in terms of how? So I raise an invoice, whether it's on an outsourced platform or directly through my regular process on my ERP. I raise an invoice. How does that work? How do I get validated? How do I get the IRN and the rest?
Okay. So basically, say both of us are transacting. You raise an invoice. And then you've sorted out the technicality he described, right? So you transmit the data to the FIRS invoice reference portal. So what that portal then does is it looks at all the data that you've imputed. It checks for the accuracy of that data. It checks that you've put my name as the customer. Yeah, you've put my name, you've put my team. It checks that the team matches with the name. It checks that all the taxes that you've put there, everything is accurate. And then by the time it validates that, it then issues the invoice reference number he mentioned, a QR code, and a digital signature. When all of that is done, what then happens is it then returns it back to your system. And then your system then takes it to my system. And so what my system then does is then I now do a confirmation. The data you've put in here, the amount, all of that, does it match my purchase order? Does it match our agreements? Once I say everything is fine, it then gets back to the FIRS system. Then that invoice can be treated as an income to you, an invoice for you, and then also an expense that I incurred. So that's how the whole thing works.
Okay. And I mean, we're saying transmit, it goes to you, it goes to me. It sounds like it's going to take 6 weeks.
All is digitalized, so I don't expect that it will take. It's, I mean, like you said, real time.
Yes, exactly. So, I mean, my point was just to highlight the fact that it's 2 minutes, Yes, all that needs to happen, but at the end of the day, we're still talking 2 to 3 minutes for you to be able to see that. The only thing that may take some time, of course, is the customer validating it on their end, because until they validate it, it's not an approved, so to speak, or it's not a completed transaction. Okay, so we know that we're in a race against time to hit 1st of November and to get people. What happens if they are unable to meet that timeline?
Wow. So again, where you are unable to meet the timeline, there are strict penalties, and you would all agree with me that the tax reforms through the Nigerian Tax Administration Act had stipulated a couple of penalties, and then one of such is the one around companies not willing to get integrated or deploy the technology that is being mandatorily required that they use. So where you don't do that, so the first is that there's a risk. So what risk do taxpayers face? The first is unnecessary scrutiny. You expected to have done that before the 1st of November 2025. You haven't done that. Then there is a risk of unnecessary scrutiny on that taxpayer. And again, it could lead to investigation. And aside from that too, there's also that risk of you not being paid, because it is a mandatory requirement. Everyone is expected to have onboarded, particularly those in that category. So you're expected to have onboarded and then integrate your system to that of the FRS e-invoicing solution. So when you don't do that, then you stand the risk of you not being paid, because the buyer is expected to also confirm the digital invoice that you must have issued using that platform. So these are the two risks that I see. And then in terms of penalties, if you look at section 102 and 103 of the Nigerian Tax Administration Act, it specifies certain penalties, and of course they call it administrative penalties. So there is the administrative penalty for failure to allow the tax authority access to deploy that technology. So where you have failed to allow them access to deploy that technology into your own system, there is an administrative penalty of 1 million naira in the first instance, and then where the failure continues, 10,000 naira. And then
Per month, per day,
it's
or
per day,
okay.
daily penalties.
Mhm.
So 10,000 naira. And then how about where you have actually integrated, you've done the onboarding, but due to the fact that you had wanted to hide certain transactions, you don't even want to report them because you feel that FRS is able to see all your transactions in real time. You are trying to avoid a situation where they are getting to see that you process your transactions off the digital platform. So there is another penalty there, and then the penalty is 200,000 naira. That's the administrative penalty, and then the taxes due from that transaction. You're expected to also pay that, and it doesn't end at that. The government is also saying, oh, for even failing to do this, there is also an interest which is at the prevailing central bank monetary policy rates per annum. So these are the risks and penalties that taxpayers would face for failure to comply. Thank you.
Okay, those are heavy, right? When you're running business, you have to try to avoid all of those things as much as possible. Okay, you talked a bit about the legal backing. Why is FIRS doing this? I mean, I know that other countries, quite a number of other countries in the world, and even in Africa, already carry out these kinds of fiscalization. But why at this time has this become necessary?
First of all, I mean, the world is moving fast, right? The government needs to be able to track the revenue of taxpayers, just to ensure that everyone is declaring their income appropriately. The appropriate taxes are being taken on these incomes. Also, for the economy at large, right? If all of this happens, the appropriate taxes are being taken on revenue and all of that, the tax to GDP ratio, it helps the economy at large. So I mean, I don't think.
So, I mean, just generally from a civic responsibility perspective, and of course, I mean, the intent would be to get more taxpayers into the tax net, and to, where possible, avoid as much tax evasion as, like, just like the example that James said, some people trying to take some transactions offline, so to speak, like Bolt drivers, trying to take transactions offline so that they don't have to pay their dues on those transactions. Okay, so thank you. But I was asking, in terms of origin, where's this coming from? Yes, like you said, I mean, obviously, we need the money as a country, as the case may be, and it would be great if Nigerians start to see, some of these impacts. But where is this coming from, and why do we think it's important?
Okay, so if you look at this e-invoicing solution, in some economies or countries, they call it fiscalization, right? So this whole thing started in Italy. And what led to all of this was because of the fact that there existed a grey economy in Italy at the time. And when I say grey economy, I mean the informal sector. So there was that sector, and it was large. And then this economy, they were actually doing businesses, but government was unable to accurately get all of this information. So there was now a need to then develop or devise a fiscal tool. So the fiscal tool was now used to track. It was first used in supermarkets, the hospitality sector, and all that, just to ensure that they are able to get the people who were not formally in the tax net, to ensure that they get all of them into the tax net. So that is where this fiscalization or this fee or the fiscal law, that's where the whole thing all came about.
That's awesome. I'm talking about the grey economy. So I'm the guy who sells paper to the company who's making 5 billion. I don't have an ERP. So I mean, yes, I should have a tin, but I don't have an ERP. So how, if I send an invoice to my customer in my own case, how does that invoice get captured within the system?
Okay, so again, if you look at these category of businesses who typically would not be required to get integrated with the FRS e-invoicing solution. So what will be required by the person enjoying the service? Because again, this other person, it's a large business and is already in the web. So the person is expected to then self-invoice. He's supposed to generate that invoice on behalf of the other entity. And then by so doing, the government or the tax authority is able to get all of these transactions in real time.
Okay, so I mean, it sounds like we're looking at the long term. At the end of the day, we're going to get to a point where all business owners are going to somehow get absorbed into this net. So, what kind of additional support are we providing? Perhaps maybe for the smaller businesses, to potentially get them ready to when this becomes a reality.
So the FIRS has started sensitizations based on like the different business, based on your turnover of different business sizes, right? So the sensitization is in phases. And so they would educate taxpayers on everything they need to know, like everything they need to know on how the whole e-invoicing system operates. So in addition to the FIRS sensitization, we can also carry out sensitization programs for our clients, the small and medium businesses, to just enlighten them on how the whole process will go, the whole process runs.
Yeah, I know we already carried out a webinar some months ago. I think that was July or early August. So again, this is a continuous development. Our viewers, it's a continuous development. We expect this fiscalization landscape to continue to evolve over time. We expect that, of course, more business sizes are going to be added into this web. We're looking forward to a more technologically driven government, and we're hoping that this we would see the dividend of this increased revenue for our dear Nigeria. So any last words, any last keynotes that we want our clients and the general business community to be aware of?
Okay, so from my end, I think the most important thing is that for businesses that are already in that web, you just need to ensure that you get onboarded, you get system integrators, and then the APIs to help in transitioning into digital invoicing, to transition into using the digital invoicing platform. And most importantly, for every other category of businesses, just like what my colleague here had said, we just need to continuously get informed, attend trainings, and then hopefully we would not be caught in the web of the penalties and then the risk associated with non-compliance.
Thank you, Toro. Rosemary, and you?
Yeah. So in addition to what he said, the cost of compliance is cheaper than non-compliance, right? So we'll just urge taxpayers to ensure that they get onboarded and integrated in time so that they don't get caught up with penalties.
So one last question. Now that you mentioned cost, I mean, obviously, this integration is going to cost taxpayers some money, right? I do know that there's some part of it that FIRS is taking up. They are bearing the cost of, I think, the APP connection. But beyond that, what do we have to say to them to make them realize that yes, it's a cost, but it's for the common good at the end of the day, if we call it that. Any pointers?
So again, in as much as you would hear some taxpayers complain about the costs, and then they would say that ordinarily, because of the fact that this is coming at a time that they were not prepared for, that the tax authority was expected to have incurred all of the costs. All that is just required is just for them to onboard. But again, it's something that I know that even when you incur the costs, you can actually claim it as a relief. So relief from if it is in relation to your software, you could capitalize and then claim some capital allowances. from it. So it's not as if you are totally losing. It's just a timing thing. Oh, you've expended it now, but you can then claim the capital allowance in the future.
Fantastic. Okay, so that should be some comfort to our taxpayers. So it's not all loss. Apart from the fact that it's for the general good, you can also claim some relief on it as capital allowance. So thank you very much, Rosemary. Thank you very much, Itoro, for your time today. We're looking forward to receiving questions on this podcast from our viewers out there. Have a lovely day, everyone.
Thank you very
Thank
much for
you.
having us.